Hi, welcome to Tea Time with Amy and Bev. Good day. Good
Good
day.
day.
Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday. How
Stuff
are you doing?
February.
It
How am
goes
I
by.
doing? Yeah. Super fast, right?
Oh, yeah. You know what? Let me just 1 second because I'm noticing.
Hold, please.
There you go. There we go. I had you in my earbud. I forgot I had, and Freeman reminded me too. So I was like, I mean, it's great, but
Yeah.
So, so back to the how are you doing?
How am I doing? I'm doing well. I'm just focusing on I have an event next Saturday, so I'm just focusing on getting that stuff done. So the beauty of it is, well, let me say that the um starting anything new, right? We got to put things together. And so it takes a little longer. And so I'm making a list. I have a spreadsheet where I have different categories. So I'm making a list of each time I do something, what to include, what not to type of thing. So it takes a little bit longer for setting up an event like this. But it's like once you have that list, then you have a checklist or something to go to as a reference, and then tweak it with each thing you do after that. Um, so setting it up is it takes a little bit more energy, but once it's set, the next one, all right, you have it all laid out, right? And so I've been through the process. So it's similar to being on this journey. When you choose to be on a journey of transformation, it's learning the tools, just gathering the information and learning the tools and figuring out what works, and maybe take an inventory of what doesn't work, because that helps us as well. We're really good at knowing what we don't like, so we have that information, and then we have the things that does resonate and that we can implement. um and then as we move forward, we have our go-to list, and as we move forward, other things might come in that makes it even easier or better or stronger or whatever, and more connected. And it's just that setting the foundation for it. So that's where I'm at. Uh, and it's actually been pretty smooth, pretty easy. I've been enjoying the process. There's a lot of creativity in it, and um, things that pop up. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't think about that. And so, but that's why I got my list, so I can have something to reference.
And it's because it's big. It's big stuff, and it's like even what you just said already is pretty huge. Even we get so caught up in things that they're bad or they're good, right? And really, all that bad or good is, it's just helping to define what your preferences are. That's really all that it is. It's not good or bad. It's just like, do I want more of that or do I not want more of that? You know what I mean? That's all that it is. But we've learned and we've taught and we've been in the space of we focus on the bad things and then we just focus on the bad things, not ever realizing that that was the first step of creativity. The first step of creativity, because it's helping us define what our preferences are. What do we want to have in our experiences? What are our passions? Because we don't know your passions without experiencing something that doesn't feel very passionate to you, right? So I mean, because it's all part of the process, and it's pretty huge. You have a going through the whole process of setting this up. This is a trial run, right? You just after right on the tail of doing organizing and doing all the other stuff you were for an event that you were part of just very recently. So it's like it's all the stuff. You are a super rock star. That's all I can tell you right now. Because regardless of how anything ever flows, when you just orchestrate it, but you know how it feels to be in that connection with the divine for this information to flow through, which is huge. And it's being in that space and recognizing, if you get overwhelmed, and this is for anybody, and all this stuff because you do all this as your practice. But when people get overwhelmed, we want to shut down and go lay in a fetal position in the corner and cry. I've been in that space, but we don't have to be in that space. And I'm listening to this gal in this podcast, started listening to it this morning, that it's Next Level Soul, just started this morning. She's a channeler, and she starts talking about a lot of this stuff. And it's so important for us just to enjoy the journey, like, to all this stuff. And it's like all this stuff we like. The thing is, we've gotten a taste of those aha moments, like the synchronicities and the messages, and being in meditation and you received information, and it's like, oh my God, I know. And it's like, but it's maintaining that energy, because now we're looking for that next aha moment, right? We're always looking for that high, the high connected. There's nothing bad in that feeling. It just feels good. It's all good. So I feel like we constantly start searching for that afterwards, but we liken it to the same experiences that we've already had, not opening ourselves up to even have more experience sometimes, because we hold on to those previous experiences so tightly and look for more of that, instead of looking for more of what's going to be shown to me next, instead of allowing it to be a surprise, right? I remember growing up and thinking I hated surprises. I didn't like surprises. Don't freaking surprise me with anything. Do not. I didn't like it because it was out of my control, right?
Exactly
So
what you say. It's all about control.
it is. It really is. It really is. Something you said last week, and then that I have told everybody and I have done it, and I'm like, yes, if it's not a hell yeah, it's a no. And it's just recognizing that, because that's now I'm in my boat, and that's my navigation tool right now. That's how I'm navigating, because that also puts me into contact with my soul, with my higher self. So I'm asking questions or looking for that guidance before I decide that I know what I'm supposed to do, or I know what needs to be said here, and I recognize it, and and I'm evolving from that space right now.
Nice. I'm glad
So
I
thank you.
said something that could help.
A lot of some things that help.
Yeah. I'm pretty good every once in a while, huh? Woo woo.
You are good.
And I get that, because this last week, so this event is big for me, and one is honoring my time and energy. And I think I mentioned this before, but I'm just going to say it again, is that people have asked me, hey, do you want to go do this? And I really want to be with people because of the making memories, spending time with them, right? That I may never get again. And I get that. And at the same time, it's like, how much more can I do that's going to take time and energy away from me focusing on this event, where I'm going to have probably over 30 people attending? And so having to say no to things that I would like to do, but is like, it goes along with, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. When I feel in me, like, you got all this other stuff that you still have to do for this event. You have a week. Like, what are you going to do? So I've a few times I've had to tell people, thank you for inviting me, but I can't.
Yeah.
Right. So there's that. The other thing is, that huge event that I was just part of. And I did mention how stepping into that role of being able to delegate tasks, like, okay, what needs to be done? I gather the information, what needs to be done, and then going and telling other people what to do. Like, that's never been my MO, because I needed to do it, because I needed the recognition. Right.
Okay.
And by the time I explain it to you, and you're probably not going to do it the way I want you to do it anyway, so far, I might as well just do it myself. Right.
Yes.
Control. So we got
Yeah.
that. In that experience, I met with the ladies that are helping me with my event next week. And I felt so comfortable saying, okay, I need you to do this, 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 and this. And I need you to do this, 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 and this. And it was just like so easy when that's not been me. And it's like, oh my gosh, I just added like 2 or 3 hours onto my time frame of getting some more stuff done that I got to get done, instead of being up until 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning trying to get things done and then get up early to go to work. Right. It's like, I have these people to depend on to help me, and they're willing to help me and they want to help me. And it's like stepping into that type of a role, and it's just up leveling my ability as a leader. And so again, we have these indicators as we're going along on our path of how well we're doing, or maybe there's some areas that still need some work. And I'm just like, just having the being proud of myself for how far I've come from where I was. And a lot of my story. But if you were to talk to people who knew me 30, 40 years ago, I would tell you, they'd be like, I don't even know who this girl is now, because when I knew her when she was 16, holy hell, it was not pretty. Yeah. So
I signed up for that too.
Yeah. So just where I'm at is super, super a self pride, and not in an egotistical way. It's like, wow, look at me now. Cause 10 years ago, I don't even could say that I would be where I'm at with myself. So, but the other thing I wanted to head on to is something you said, and we've talked about it before, is when you're being in that creative space and your energy is in that creativity. So no different than my energy that I'm putting into this event. It matters in the whole, because people are going to feel the energy as the whole. And if I'm bringing stressful energy into it and being on edge and in that angst and anxiety and, oh my gosh, and overwhelm and wanting to shut down and worried the people aren't going to come, and then that's going to cause that right energy to repel people from the event. So I just want to bring it to a different example, that when people are making jewelry, if you just had an argument with somebody and then you're like, I just need to get away from them, I'm going to go in my room, I'll shut the door, I'm going to work on my jewelry, and you're in that pissed off, angry state and you're making jewelry, and then you're expecting it to sell, not going to sell. You give it to somebody, guess what? It's probably going to break. It's not going to last. And then you're going to be upset with yourself because your quality of your work wasn't that great. Well, you have to think, it's your energy that's in that piece of jewelry, and now somebody else has it or don't have it. Like if you're trying to sell your jewelry, people feel that energy. So that's just a different example as to, creativity and your energy. It all matters. It's like all super important.
It really is. Every single part of it, every single thing that we experience is very important. I was talking to someone yesterday, one of my friends, and it's like I was telling her, I am thankful for the triggers anymore, because otherwise we just don't. And I have said it before that I have been, but I'm thankful for those triggers, especially because not always, but especially when I'm in the space to be like, I wonder what that's all about. Like, look at me right now. Exactly. Instead of having a reaction or anything else. And so yesterday I got to the office and it smelled like someone's reptile cage or whatever in my office. And I thought, I just automatically sent a message to the owner, because she owns the building, right? Just to let her know, to give her a heads up, because I didn't speak up for myself last time, but it's learning how to speak up, because I could have went next door and talked to the people when they got in there, when I had a chance, and I didn't do it that way. And then ended up talking to them last night, and they were very nice, and we'll meet up with each other so they can get an idea of what they're smelling, because it's like they said, maybe we're so familiar with this that we're not recognizing that it's whatever. And I said, well, you guys have only been there for like a couple weeks, right? And she says, no, we've been there for a month. And I said, well, hey, the positive is this is the first time I've smelled anything through, and it has nothing to do with their business. It has to do with the building, basically, that we share this common space. And so it's recognizing I was getting irritated by it, right? Because it was like the old stuff, like smelling cigarette smoke or whatever. And then I noticed that I was starting to react to that. So then it's like, nope, not going to react. I'm just going to send her the message, notify her so she's aware and she can make a decision however she wants to do things. But with all that being said, I feel like I obviously would have preferred someone come talk to me first about something. And so that's how I will do it in the future. And so it wasn't like anything good or bad, but it was just like just what we're talking about. It's just recognizing, first of all, I had a trigger, recognizing what is it to serve me for. And then my clients reminded me like, hey, you're probably just not going to be in the space much longer. It's not a big deal. And I said, you're 100% right. It's just helping me to let go, because I know that when we're comfortable in spaces, we'll stay there forever. Honestly, if I was comfortable and enjoying every single thing that I'm doing, I probably would never aspire to do anything more than I'm doing right now. But because of all this stuff, this comfortability comes along, and then all of a sudden you feel, and I think it's spirit like giving you those urges, and that, you're feeling unrested and you feel like you got to do something, and you're like, ugh, really, like you just feel inside of you want to do something. And that's, I think in a lot of ways, that's a motivational way to get us moving, because they know how to push our buttons to trigger us in order for us to, to move forward. It's that moving forward, because sometimes we get so comfortable, it doesn't even matter the space. We'll get comfortable in an abusive relationship because we know where it's at. We know what we're going to get from it. We know what to expect typically. And a lot of times we don't like all that other stuff, but my gosh, if we just looked at life as more of an adventure, and it's like, what am I going to learn from this? It's like, I have fought for so long, and I wouldn't say fought, but I just really had zero desire to meditate. It wasn't my goal, but it's like, does that mean that I was putting myself on the back burner again and not giving myself that peace? That peace, when I've had it, feels so amazing. And it's like, why can't that be more of a practice? And why have I kept myself so busy? Why have I distracted myself from that? And those are all, it's all triggers. So it's like, I don't have all the answers for everybody, but I'm learning the answers for myself. So it's like, this has made an asking for like, why am I experiencing this right now? I'm listening to this gal this morning, and she says something, I probably won't say it exactly the way she said it, but she was talking about money, and your money is a reflection of how you've been devaluing yourself. So it's like, so that was a huge statement. I was like, that's pretty big. And then I'm like, is that true? So just sitting with that, just to see how it feels for me. I have devalued myself? And it's like, and I hear you having the conversation, you're setting this function up, and you're doing all these things. And it's like, you talked about not valuing yourself, and you've learned to value yourself. Your time's important. And it is. Our time is all important. And it's like, it's just recognizing how we're putting use of our energy into our daily activities and our daily thoughts, and not chastising self when we hear ourselves talking crap to ourselves again. Like, wait a minute, you're getting all flipped out over this, like right now. Why? What, asking ourselves these questions instead of feeling like a victim to our behavior. Because then what happens afterwards? We start kicking ourselves. Why did I say that? How come I didn't do this? And it's like, nope, you did the best you could at that particular moment. What can you do better next time? How can you show up and do better, be better into the next time it comes into your experience? So it's just
always be a next time.
there will, until that's like was telling her, until we become neutral, it's going to keep showing up for us because we have something to learn from it. That's all that it is. It's not a punishment. Right. It's not anything bad. It's when we learn what we need to learn from it, there's no use for it anymore. It just will fall away from our experience.
Yeah. I had a conversation with somebody several months ago, and she's having a difficult time at home, and between her and her kids, they keep talking about it. They text each other during the day about it, sending images about it, like it's constant, right? And I told her in the beginning, when she started talking to me about it, I said, you guys got to stop talking about it. You just got to stop talking about it. Stop reinforcing the energy. Stop giving attention to it, because you keep giving attention to it, it can't change. You guys are feeding it. You guys are holding the energy of it to where it's at, and it can't change. And she heard me, but she didn't take action, right? So here we are several months later. And just the other day, she goes, I'm really beating myself up for not, for talking bad about this person. Of course, I have to take a breath in myself and not say I told you so, because I really wanted to say that, but that's my ego saying, look, I fucking told you how many months ago, but I not going to do that, because people will only do and hear and do what they can in the moment. And she couldn't do it then, because she's so deep into it, so emotionally distraught over it. And it's in her face, it's in her reality, and she doesn't know how to do anything different. And now, and this is what we do, right? We want something different. We're given the information, but then we don't do anything with it, because it's a means of being able to just keep ourselves in that pattern of not good enough, because we don't value ourselves, because we can't see ourselves any different, because, well, I know what to expect when I get home. And if I do anything different, it's right, the unknown bullshit. And I'm not going to know what to expect. I'm not going to know how to control the situation. I'm not going to know how to react to this, because it's going to be something different. So if I keep it in the same energy as it is, I know the pattern. I know what to do. I know how to react to it. And but staying in that, you're just you're not happy. You know that things are not the way you desire them to be. And nothing is going to change until you change. And I'm not saying nothing's going to change until they change. The key word is you. Nothing is going to change until you change. And in all situations, there are multiple choices, multiple avenues to take. But we have to have the desire enough to make a change, to do something different, and to move in a different direction, to shift our energy. Had Bev and I not done the things that we've done for ourselves and changing in ourselves, there's no way her and I would have come together to do this. There would be no way I would have even suggested to her, hey, let's go out into the public eye and have no to the hell no. Fuck no.
And it wouldn't have been called tea time. It had been like shots with Amy and Bev.
That's right. No doubt. We would be drunk, happy drunks.
That's right. And recording it. Life goals. All that, when you're talking about a lot of that stuff, it makes me think about a baby, right? A baby's not thinking like, oh my God, what if my knees got under me? What if, oh my God, my arm, I just moved. And then they started worrying about where they were going next. They would never go anywhere. Like they would never go. They don't want change. Oh my God, what if I crawled over there and I stood up and fell down or something? You have nothing to compare it to, but we've got a template, right? We've got this previous patterns that we can grasp a hold of, right, that don't do us any service, because they're almost like having the training wheels on all the time. We kind of, gosh, it's just to be in that space of that just like a baby being so curious about something that you're willing to drag your body across the floor over to see it. And we just don't, we've lost that. In many ways, we've lost that intensity to really have that desire, that burning desire to get over there and pick it up and get over there and find out, it's just a piece of lint that they stuck in their mouth or whatever, because they do this stuff all the time. I've had kids and I've had grandchildren, so it's like whatever is available, they're going after it. That little shiny thing over there, they're gonna get there, but they don't think about the whole thing on the way there. They're just all excited because they know they're getting closer and closer to whatever they're getting to, and then they're just delighted by what they have. It doesn't even matter if it's a piece of lint or a box or a ball. Like none of that stuff even matters. It's just the thrill to get to that point. And if we stayed in that space of always being afraid of change, we would never have learned how to crawl. But we didn't have all these beliefs or these things that we think we have to grab a hold of something, and that's the only way we can do it from here on out. We cannot stray from what the norm is, and it's like we might be looked at, or so we might stand out a little bit and someone might see you. Oh my God, like all these things, these worries and stuff go through our mind. And it's just because it's stuff that we learn, but that innocent baby doesn't think twice about it. They're just happy go lucky until they're not. And then they'll cry until they get whatever they need to get. We just don't, we, if we can look at life a little bit more like that, maybe get on the floor and crawl around a little bit and see what do you see that's the closest thing to you and move over to it. I don't know. It's just like getting back to some of the old patterns, the old looking at things from a different perspective. So, whether you're on your belly or standing in the back of your truck looking at the grounds, it's you're having a different perspective of things, and things can look different and exciting again, and it draws your attention. And how many times I've looked outside and all of a sudden the sun's shining on one particular spot. Now it's got my attention. I get excited, we might get a little scope out and you check it out or whatever. So it's just like if those are the things that are exciting, that's right now.
Yeah, the other day I was driving to work and it was super cloudy here, but as I was driving to work, there was this one huge cloud and it was baby blue against all the gray clouds. And I kept looking at when I'm trying to drive, but I'm like, ooh, trying to drive and look. I was like, girl, you're gonna get in a wreck. Where stop it?
That's awesome.
Right over a cloud. And I'd never seen a cloud of a like baby blue, huge. It was huge. Oh, that was so amazing. And to get excited about something like that. I mean, that was just there was one day I was driving to work and there was a mist, like a fog that had settled in our town. And it was I go by the cemetery and I so wanted to just pull into the cemetery and sit there. I just so wanted to do it. But I thought, no, I'm heading to work. I need to get to work and all that. And so then I was telling my boss later and she goes, well, then do it. You're not
Exactly.
go with me for something like that, but I have my old programming of got to be to work at a certain time, got to show up, got to, all this stuff. And it's just such a relaxed atmosphere. And she's like, if you want to stop at a cemetery because there is a fog over it and that excites you, then do it. Like I was just like, what? Like give myself permission to do that?
You're amazing. That's fantastic.
So, but coming back to your analogy of the baby, for sure, first of all, baby knows how to use its voice, right?
Oh, yeah.
If it's got dirty diaper, if it's uncomfortable, it. Like you may not know what it is, but there's something that's off with the baby, right? But it knows how to use its voice. And it's over time where the parent or significant people in that baby's life teaches it to not use its voice, which you and I were taught very well. Don't use your voice because you be seen, not heard. Don't care about your problems, suck it up, put your big girl panties on. Like we've heard it all. And so we suppressed our voice and then we had to learn how to use it. And so a baby is curious, so curious, and it wants to explore everything, and it sees something and it just wants to go put its mouth on it. Everything goes in their mouth and in their fingers, and they're playing with it and touching it. Doesn't matter what it is, even the nasty stuff.
Yes.
But they explore and they're curious, and it's the adults that teaches them, oh, don't do that because this could happen, and don't do that because that could happen. And then we start learning those types of programmings of worry and the anxiety and all the fear and all the stuff. And then we have to learn how to unlearn that stuff, so that we can pull that heavy energy out of us and reprogram our mind and body to do something different. Always comes, we say it every week, always comes back to a choice. Always comes back to a choice. If you don't like the way your life is, you don't like the way things are happening, you don't like your circumstances, either you got to change your perspective. If you're going to choose to stay, you got to change your perspective about it, or take another avenue of choice. there is always a choice. So one of the choices that for this lady that I was referencing just a few minutes ago, one of the choices is that she's just going to go live somewhere else temporarily. It's not forever. It's just temporarily to get her out of that energy. So she's not seeing it every single day for hours, that she gets to go to a place where she can have some solitude, and just do something different and get a breath. Like sometimes we need that breath of fresh air. I have another person who's gone through a separation, and what's interesting, I thought this is really interesting. It's just a side note, but they chose to have the house and the kids stay in the house, but the parents alternate who stays there. So one week the mom stays, and then the next week she leaves and the dad stays. And so instead of having the kids bounce around to house, the parents are back and forth. And I thought, oh, well, that's interesting. She said, yeah, it's kind of the new thing now. I was like, okay, well, hey, if it works. But anyway, I told her, I said, listen, had things hadn't unfold like it did, you would have never taken 2 weeks every month for yourself. You would have been a wife and a mom and all the things that go along with that. And you would have never, ever taken 2 weeks out of the month to go be with yourself, to go do what you want, to go focus on you, to go do your transformation work, to do whatever it is. Would have never happened. So there is value in the way this has unfolded for you. And she's like, wow, that is so true.
But that's that whole thing of helping people, like what we've been talking about, is really helping people to focus on the things that are working, like what you wouldn't have had this, like you just said. And that's kind of huge. That's kind of huge. And it doesn't matter how it came about. I mean, I can say that so easily, so flippantly, but because it does matter in a lot of ways. But in a lot of ways, when you get to the outcome, it's like that all that stuff didn't matter as much as you thought it did. Yeah. What matters now is where you've ended up. What matters now is how you feel evolved, or you've got time for yourself. And it's like you can take a chance to, or take time to just take a breath, just to be able to focus on yourself. And that's not always easy, but it's like it's awesome that it worked out that way. Gosh, it almost seems like it'd be beneficial for all families to, have a parent at least to get 1 week to themselves, at least once a month, right? And then that way you've always got the kids being taken care of, but you got reset time. And I think it's important. It really is important. And maybe we don't need as much time as that. Maybe it's a couple of days every other week or something like that to break it down a bit. But it just goes to show you there's other alternatives. And that's really, you talked about before, choices, right? We have choices, and there's always solutions to everything. And there's numerous, but it's like, it may not be something that you've thought about. And that's why I love talking to people, because we get to get different ideas all the time. It's not just one way, because the experience that we've had in this life right now, it's been ours solely alone. So it's like we're drawing from whatever we've experienced. So when we hear someone else's perspective on something, it really gives us something to it's food for thought, right? It's something to digest and think and see if it really would benefit us. Could I do something like that? And because to me, I would never have thought of that. And that is very awesome. I think that is so smart. That's just another option that's out there. But again, until you start getting in with groups or other things, and it's like, pay attention to the group. Is the group like a hell yeah, making you feel good, or is it you feeling dragged down every single time you go into group? So that's also something to look at too. Because I was going to say, there's lots of Facebook groups out there and stuff too, and I even know someone else that had gone through cancer and then went into the cancer group, but that wasn't what she was looking for the conversation. She's looking for, like, let's figure out how to live and not just die right now. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just perspectives, and you really got to pay attention to what you like and what feels good to you.
I saw a conversation on social media, and the person was not happy with the AA groups in his area. And so he was seeking some other kind of support, and he wasn't happy with the idea of going to a group similar to what you were just saying, and like keep beating yourself up and hearing all these stories, and just, it's kind of a downer type of thing. He's like, I want something different. And people, not kidding you, people suggested, well, you know, you're shown these things so that you know what you want. And why don't you just start your own group? And guess what his response was?
I don't have time for that.
I think I'm qualified to do something like that. I'm like, if you know you want to live and you have this idea and this is planted on your heart, then I bet there's other people out there who want it too. So what if you did start something and the people showed up who would support you and have the same desire, and how amazing it could be, and you change the paradigm about AA meetings? Like, one of my hangups about it is going to a meeting and saying, I'm an alcoholic. I don't like that affirmation. I never have. And it's not something I will. I used alcohol to get through some stuff, but I also know I used alcohol to suppress my emotions so I could have a good time. I know what I used it for. It was a crutch. It was a means of moving through. But to affirm in all the time that I'm this, I'm like, I would rather go and say, man, I'm amazing for showing up with this group and change it, right? And so just having a shift in perception about what it is that you're, again, coming back to perspective, changing your perspective, because you change your perspective, now it starts changing the dynamics with yourself. I would much rather affirm, I'm a survivor, I'm strong, I am full of strength and persistence and diligent. Like, I want to affirm all that. That's what I want to affirm, because that's going to keep me in a space of wanting to keep going, because now I'm valuing or focusing on my strengths instead of the opposite of beating myself up all the time because this is what I did and this is what happened. And I'm like, I just cannot get into that.
Makes sense.
Now, if I would have attended that type of meeting back in the day, maybe that would have been what I needed at that time. But even then, I have never attended a meeting like that. And even then, at that age, I was like, there's got to be something different. There's got to be something different. And I just kept asking and asking and asking, what else can I do? Because that's not the answer. Like, traditional counseling and therapy wasn't my good. I'm like, never had it. And you would think, based on how I am today compared to how I was, you would swear I've been in counseling for years. Like traditional therapy, never been in it. Never have. I mean, I've talked to traditional therapists in groups that I've been in, like mastermind groups and study groups and stuff like that. Never have I been to a traditional therapist for my stuff. And I'm like, there are other ways. There's other choices, and it's just being open. And when somebody suggests to you, because I tell you, I've done this myself too, it's like, you're going to be a healer. And I'm like, fuck you, I am. Nope, not happening. Somebody told me this for 3 years. And I was like, oh no, because I couldn't see that in myself to step into that role. And I didn't want that kind of responsibility. So I understand where this person is coming from, thinking he's not qualified. But at the same time, when something is on your heart like that, it's important to step into it, because you're not the only one feeling that way.
Yeah. And it's even in the groups, I don't know what kind of leeway they have in those things, because I haven't gone to any of them either. But it's like, God, what's a better conversation? I have been sober this amount of time, or instead of I am this other thing. There's so many ways of saying things without, saying it in a positive way instead of in that sort of a way. And maybe that wouldn't even be frowned upon, but it's like, in that situation, you want to be what you want to see in the world, right? So it's like, you just show up and you don't have to be affected by all this stuff. If you're affected by all this stuff, that means that's what your attention's drawn to. So you're looking at the victim and you're looking at all this turmoil and sadness and chaos and drama and stuff. Or are you looking at like positive, like, look at all these people that came in here that are ready to be seen. They came in here because they're ready to be seen. And it's like, what if we started, and you're the change. You just have to be, you're the one that's going to be the change if you want to affect things like that. Or like you said, just create your own group. And it's an opportunity nonetheless in any way, any of the, there's many options, right? You could make many choices for the whole thing, or just give up on it and not do it at all.
Yeah. And I do want to say, I'm not putting down AA meetings because
Oh, no, no.
for some people, it's just similar to like a Bible study or anything. It's amazing for people for where they're at. If it's working for you, do it. But if you,
Yeah.
what my focus is on is somebody who is desiring something different and they know there could be something different and it's on their heart to have something different, then step into it. Like,
Yeah. Because you're a creator. Yeah. You're a creator creating with your words, and those are your words. That's the only reason I would bring it. That's just I mean, that to me, it's no different than if we wanted to bring in religion or any of that stuff. It's just we're creating with our words, and I'm not creating from a fear space. So it's like there's things that wouldn't resonate with me. Just like we've talked about not that long ago, when I see stuff that's advertising even on like YouTube, and even if it's something that I know that I would probably enjoy it, but when it's put to me like, oh my God, do this or this is going to happen, or hey, the devil's with us right now, and like all this stuff, and it's like that doesn't motivate me. That I know that and maybe it might have motivated me once upon a time, but I've always been really hard-headed and kind of headstrong in a lot of that stuff, so I'm not so sure. That's
yeah,
where my anger came into play. That's if I wanted to look back at my life and think, oh, I could just always say I was just always angry, but it served me. It's not that it didn't serve me; it served me in so many ways. But I just learned there was other ways that being nice can serve me too, like being with other people, with like-minded people, being aware of the words that I'm using because it is creating, being aware of how I feel about money, how I'm devaluing myself, like looking at all this stuff is, and it's just, we just happen to use that as a topic as the group, just because they would always say that. And it's like you're affirming something over and over and over again. Like we just talked about a little bit ago about your other person. You guys want to keep talking about that story. You're keeping it in your experience. And there was nothing wrong with it. It's like getting past that part of the grieving and blaming ourselves for all these things that we did wrong instead of just acknowledging, oh yeah, I fucked up. But guess what? I don't have to do that anymore. I'm a different person now, and you can show up and do and be better. You're different than the person you were initially because you get new tools, right? Otherwise, and even then, a lot of times it's not, is it wrong? Because that's all they know. Not, and it's just an option. It's an opportunity for us to look and explore for something else that's out there to change our life, to give us the feel goods instead of being so caught up in all the stuff that doesn't feel good and the drama and stuff like that, and the stuff that we're familiar with and we know. And that's why it's so important for us to gravitate and change, and it's to really gravitate towards all the things that are pulling us in that direction. And I feel like we're constantly being pulled in that direction, but how much are we ignoring it? Like for instance, even going onto YouTube, whatever's showing up on your feed, it's there for a reason. It is not, it's I can say it's all AI stuff, and sure, there's a lot of stuff that goes by, patterns. It's looking at it, watching us and everything else. But it doesn't show up in our experience as a spiritual being unless there's something there for us with it. And it's like, so for me to even say like, well, I wasn't drawn to that. I know I'll end up watching some of these because then I'll watch it and I'll be like, oh my God, the advertising for that wasn't, to me, it didn't pull me in. It was actually pushing me away. And I almost missed out on the story, but I know if it shows up a few times, regardless of whatever says on there, I'm to watch it. So
yeah,
it's like, it's all those messages. We have messages around us all the time that we're just not even paying attention to. We're not giving energy to any of that good stuff, the stuff that makes us feel good. So again, it's like, where are you at with how you're feeling? And you can tell, right? You can tell by how you feel. You can just stop in and check in with yourself for a minute. If you're not feeling like bubbly, excited, like driving by the cemetery and like, oh my God, I could go in there right now. This is like the perfect time. And when you said that, I thought, and all the people that would be sitting around in there and standing around, because it's like in my mind, I could see all that as you're going by, and it's like, man, it's like you tell them next time I'll be stopping in. I'm
no,
stopping in. I don't care where I'm going to. I'll tell them, hey, I had an emergency at home, or I'll make up what. But again, see what I started to say. I'm creating. So if I said there was an emergency at home, I'm creating an emergency at home. with my words instead of, so it's like finding ways to use those words to you're creating what you want to create. I needed to take a 5 minutes stop. We don't have to say why. We don't have to justify it. It's just the way it is. This is, thanks for waiting for me. Thanks
Yeah.
for waiting for me to show up to work today at 3 o'clock when I was due to be in at 7. No, just kidding.
Hey,
Yeah,
hanging out with the dead people.
that's right. I'm here. Let's get excited, guys.
Yeah. And creativity, when it's in your heart, it's time to go with it. It's time to pay attention. It's time to do something with it, whether it's take a class or start your own thing or do something. The more I got into learning about energy work and that avenue of information, I was so fascinated by it. Then I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to step into this, how am I going to get better at it? How am I going to get good at talking to people? How am I going to get into my confidence? So that's when I started taking classes. That's when I was in a networking company where I had to, I didn't have to, but if you want to make money, it helps if you do group demonstrations. I am not a stand in front of a group type of girl at the time, and it was very scary and very uncomfortable. It was shaking in my body, stumbling over my words, but I survived because I'm still here. And the more I did it, the more I got comfortable, the better I got. And so get the tools. If there's something on your heart, something you desire, then get the tools. There's lots of free stuff on YouTube. There are a lot of books that have been written before us that will help guide you. A lot of leadership books, a lot of books on how to speak, right? Speaking in front of other people. And you take that information and you see what resonates with you. And then sometimes, a lot of times, you create your own. And that was one of the things that was told to me several years ago was, you're going to get a lot of information, but you're going to create your own path. In my head, I was like, oh, okay, I don't get this, but whatever. And then that's what I've done. Like, I've pulled pieces from so many different teachers and stuff, and I've created my own. So it's like, how do you want to embrace? But sometimes you got to follow some people so that you can get a grasp on getting a little clearer on what you want. But then you can just take it and make it your own. Put your own spin on it. Nobody's going to tell your story like you do. So we all might have similar stories, or several of us might have similar stories, but we're not all going to have the same story. We're not going to have the same experience. We're not going to have the same healing practices, but nobody's going to know if you don't share. So it's similar to starting a group that you desire. So many people are out there probably desiring the same thing, but nobody wants to step into that role. Step into the role, see what happens. If it doesn't work out, it's okay. You learn something. And then maybe it's going to help you make a shift, or maybe it's going to make you help you make a connection with somebody who has the more skills in that area that could either guide you or take the reins and show you the way. Just see.
That's true. It all helps, because I'm just sitting here thinking about all that stuff, and it helps. And again, you've got each person has a genuine, distinct perception on things than another person has. And like I said earlier, it makes a big difference when we get those perspectives. Sometimes those perspectives can take a lot of weight off someone, can make a big difference in their life. So it's awesome when we all show up in our true authentic selves, as our true authentic selves.
And when it's important to me for people to lean into collaboration instead of competition. Do you know how many healers there are in this town? It's a small town compared to a big city like LA or Las Vegas or anything. There's a lot of healers here.
Yeah.
But we all do it in our own way. And we're all going to attract the people that are attracted to us. The way we teach, the way we talk, the way our modalities, our skill set, our language, our body language, all those things. That is like an individual basis. However, it's an energetic basis on who's attracted to you. And we can do these things individually. Now, there's over 7 billion people on the planet, and not one healer can handle all of that. So we need many healers, but we're also more powerful together. So if we're supporting each other, if there's something that I am not strong in my skill set, or I don't have time for, I'm like, hey, here's this person's number. Here's that person's number. I know somebody who does that as well, because people ask me all the time, do you do this? Yep, I sure do. I don't have time, but I know somebody else who I trust who could do it, and I'll give them their number. So I have no problem in doing that, because there's plenty for everybody. And it's just like these groups. If somebody is drawn to your energy and they're desiring something similar to what you're desiring, they're going to be drawn to you. And then you just roll with it, and you're going to figure out what works, what doesn't work. And you keep making adjustments, and it's all okay. And if you're desiring the support shows up. Support shows up every single time. And it's whether you link arms with that person to let them lead the way and guide you, or resist it and look at it as competition and say, oh, well, they're smarter than me. And then now you get into comparison. It's like, we're stronger together. I have a lady in a group that I'm in, and that's her tagline. We're stronger together. And it's absolute truth. The more we collaborate, the better it is. It's going to be better for the planet. So I'm totally into collaboration. I'm like, let's link arms and be strong together instead of trying to do it individually, because that's a lot of work. It's tough. And we get to lift each other up in our strengths and our qualities, and shine a light on one another. So I'm like, step in, just do it.
Back to those choices again.
Right?
It's true, but it's true. Look at how many choices we have.
Yeah. So many. So many.
It's true. It's pretty phenomenal, and you don't even know until you talk to groups of people, until you start getting different ideas. And then you realize, and it's like, even for me, when I walk over to take care of the cats or whatever to their house, I imagine that I'm walking on this path, and I can see the grass on both sides, and it's lined with certain types of rocks that I want lining the path. And I can see that all the way to the house. And then I can see their house in a green color with a copper roof. And then I can see, I can see all this stuff, but I can see all this stuff. And then if you have someone else that's collaborating with you, now they're adding something into it. And it's like, I never thought about that. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so now we just install the water feature, right? You know what I mean? But that's how it goes, and that's how amazing it is and fun it can be.
Or you could look
It
at
does,
the opposite of that is, oh, they already have it. Maybe I shouldn't do it because they have already done it.
yeah.
I mean, okay, well, how many Bible studies are there just in the United States? How many AA meetings are just in the United States? Somebody desires it and they start it.
Yeah.
So
Channelers, oh my God, look at how many channelers we have. Mediums. Yeah. We're in a time-space reality now that we can see and have better contact and explore these people, anybody that's online, than we ever had before in our lives. We've never had the opportunities that we have right now. Not in my life experience on this lifeline.
yeah.
There's no, but it's phenomenal.
Yeah. A lot of people are opening up to that and allowing it to be a part of their truth. I have a lady who's, I'm coaching, and she's opened up to mediumship, and she's like, I can talk to the dead people, but I don't know what to do after that. Like, because that's a huge responsibility when you're talking to somebody's loved ones who've passed, and you're talking to the person who's still here in the physical body. Now there's some mental and emotional healing that needs to take place. She's like, I don't know what to do with that. Like, that's out of her realm. Like, she has no study in that at all. And she's like, I just give them your card. Like, go see Amy. You want to work through this? Go see. And I'm like, hey, that's cool. And in the meantime, I'm giving her examples. Okay, well, when this happens, you could do this, and just giving her different. Like, I'm lifting her up in her abilities, and allowing her to grow, and sharing the information I have instead of holding my information in the idea that, well, she can only do this and I can do the rest. And now they need to come to me. And I'm not about that. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not going to play that game. I want to lift her up. I want to, because again, how many billions of people are on the planet? She can't read for all of them and I can't help them all. So it's like, no, let's lift you up in your strengths and grow and learn some skills so that you can help them. You have the ability to help them. And I have my path. So yeah, it's always a choice of what everyone do.
Yeah. I think it was Gordon Smith that was talking about his teacher told him that I'm not going to teach you how to use your skills, your mediumship. I'm going to teach you how you handle the public, like how
Right.
you handle each person. That was more valuable. She says, I don't need to teach you something that you already have
Right.
an ability with. It's your natural thing. I don't need to teach you anything, but it's teaching you how you're going to respond to people, teaching us how to honor our boundaries, teaching us how to communicate messages in a neutral way so you're not setting them off or triggering them, right? You want them to have an amazing experience at that point and know that they're sitting with their loved one, but without triggering these emotions. And so there's a lot of stuff that kind of goes along with all this stuff.
It's a big
Yeah,
responsibility.
it really is. It's like one person, one medium would say that she knew when they were going to die. And it's like after a few times of saying it, it's like she quit saying it because things can change. If you know that you're going to die, it might be a positive and encourage you to even live more, or you go out and live your life to the fullest. And next thing
Right.
you know, you're still here, right? There's so many factors, but it's like it's just being aware of that stuff, or even saying, we've talked to a familiar person that's was told after her son died that, he was stuck and he couldn't believe this has happened to him. Those are all, that was someone's experience at that time. That was the medium's experience once they were sharing it with the person, the sitter. But it's like recognizing that information is not beneficial. And it's also having the knowledge that if you've been doing mediumship, because I've heard it as a familiar among mediums, is when a person comes through, um, they're always bringing forth the information that you need to hear at the time, but they're always doing it from a space of it's always for the greatest good of the client or for the sitter. It always is. So when you're doing it that way, it's like I feel like you're always guided. You could always go out and get more and more teachers and study and learn more.
Yeah.
There's the benefits of all that. There really is. But it's like at the same time, I know that we have access to all that within inside of ourselves. And like you said, we've got, like, you can guide them into certain places and what to look at and everything else, but there's so much bigger stuff going on like that, and we just really, people that are here can be very tender, very sensitive,
Right.
and it's like they might be on, gosh, we listened to Suzanne Geisman how many times, and she's talked about people sitting right across from her and telling her, man, if you didn't bring them through today, I already have my pills in my purse and I was going to go kill
Yeah.
myself after this. And that's after their loved ones said, like, hey, you don't need to take those pills that are in your purse,
Right.
like calling them out. So to be seen, but so it's just recognizing there's like gosh, almost like you almost have to learn how to counsel when you're in those kind of situations too, in a lot of ways, or
That's
just let spirit do its job. Maybe that's just all part of the natural parts of it.
and that's that was one of the things that I told her right away. I said, don't have people dependent on you.
Oh yeah.
I said, you're going to be in my world. I am not a person who wants people dependent on me. I want you to learn. I want you to grow, and I want you to even outgrow me, because I'm helping people with where they're at right now. And as you evolve, you're going to outgrow me. You're going to need a new mentor. It's okay. I'm okay with that, because you're growing and expanding. I said, it's the same thing with your clients. You bring them in, you have the reading with them, affirm the idea that we are still energy and connected and always around, and you teach them or let them know or encourage them to learn to do it on their own. They are not to be dependent upon you and keep coming back to you time and time and time again, because they need that affirmation from you. They need that confirmation from you. You start teaching them how to do it for themselves, help
Yeah.
them be independent. And so that's the space I come from. And I do the same thing in my coaching and my classes. So growing, continuously growing. And the to go along with our conversation of bringing this person up is also that how quickly she stepped into it and not know a damn thing about it. Like she had no clue. She don't know what it was about. She didn't know how it works. But she stepped into it, and then she would contact me, and she'd do it, and something else would come through. And then so we've been going back and forth. But she had enough courage to just step into something she knew nothing about.
Awesome.
And so that goes along with what we were talking about earlier. If something's on your heart and this desires are like Bev said, we are creative beings. Use your creative skills to step into it, and also know that there is a lot of support around. Sometimes that support, you can't see it. It's our spirits guiding us, right? And so step into it anyway, because I'll be all woo-woo. The stars will align and the people will come to help guide you and support you and help you flourish and be even more amazing in that role. So,
gosh, it's so true. I mean, I agree with a lot of with what you were saying. I really do. It just makes sense to me. And I also know about having the healthy boundaries, because people, they don't do it on purpose, but they'll keep going to you constantly.
Yeah.
Instead of going within. So then they're relying upon something else, right? It's, to me, it's like it's along the same lines of when we raise our kids, we kind of got to let them make decisions and stuff, even though we can see that this may not be the best decisions they're making right now, but they've got to make these decisions because that's how they're learning. And we do it a service by doing it for them, because then they have no clue. Then when you're gone and you're making millions, and they're not able to just schedule with you like they would have scheduled with you before, or whatever the perspective is. You know what I mean? You're not going to be able to sing in small groups anymore because you're singing on stage and at a big venue. That's what your life looks like now. So things change and you're not as accessible to everybody else. But it's fun, and and it's one of the things I've listened to different psychics. They say Mavis Patel was one of those two, that she wishes she would have enjoyed the journey a little bit more when this all started for her, because we want to grow through it so fast, and not we want to be at a certain stage, but we don't want to go through the whole process of getting there. But that process of getting there has so much value in it, and that's the whole thing. Even though I'll be 54 this year, and maybe I don't know exactly what I'm doing at this particular moment, but it's like I know that it's constantly evolving into something else. So it's like I'm just finally at a stage where I'm enjoying the journey of it. Mostly, when you have your bad days, you have, or what feels like maybe a bad day, which is not even the same as they used to be. I don't know. They're just different now. Bad days are not the same as the old bad days. Those ran on for months. Now these will last like maybe an hour or two, or I'll have my moments and I'll blow up, and if I get to that point, and it's over. And then I feel good.
Because I understand that, and I have to say, my bad days today compared to my bad days then, my bad days then 24/7, unless I was asleep, of course. So maybe 24 or 7, 18, 7, 18 hours a day, 7 days. Like that was bad days. Now, if there's, I'm going to say quote unquote bad, because we don't define bad or good, just is. But if I have a day that gets me emotionally distraught, once every other week, a couple times a month, compared to where I was, I'm like, that's huge, right? That is huge. And I am blessed for that. So, and really the things that I'm perceiving as uncomfortable is because I'm perceiving them that way. And I'm adding to it. So it's all on me. So I'm creating my own discomfort because of the way I'm looking at what's happening outside of me, and internalizing it always comes back to me. It always comes back to I'm not good enough, which means I'm not loved and accepted. So it's up to me to change that. And I can only change that for myself. So So those uncomfortable moments last, like you said, an hour, maybe, right? Maybe half a day, but not days, weeks, months, and years. So that's huge.
You know, something that hit my mind just now. I thought I had been doing really good with my awareness on stuff like that, but it's like yesterday was kind of a long day for me. I had seen like 4 people, and then the last one we ended up being there for like 3 hours. I mean, because we sat and talked afterwards and stuff. So it was a long day, and I wasn't recognizing it. And I was talking to Freeman, and I was saying things, and he's like, "Oh, yeah." He said something about that I was putting stress on my T's, and I'm like, "Really? I am?" And he said, "Yeah." And he says, "Well, you probably haven't eaten." I had not eaten. I hadn't eaten since that morning because I hadn't had time between clients, and you probably haven't drank much water. And I started realizing these things, and then he's like, "Remember, you've been on a high." And it's like that's the thing to remember too. Like even when you do your venues and you do all the other stuff, we get on this high place, but we have to make sure that we're still getting the water, the foods, because we still got to have when we're high in that high place, we're vibing higher. I feel like we're probably burning more calories. There's a lot more going on as far as that goes, and we really need to. I say need to. It's up to you, but an awareness of how you're feeling at those moments, which, I've been talking about how, my teaching my granddaughter, my grandkids to be aware of what they're needing at the moment and stuff like that. So it's like, here I am. And then I have someone else that's saying something to me. That's why it's so important for community
Yeah.
and for our partners and stuff like that, because they notice things just like we notice things for other people. And then how are you presenting that information? He wasn't saying, "Ooh, you're stressing your T's. Next thing you know, you're going to be an asshole." He didn't say anything like that. But because in the past, hangry was a normal process for myself, because I didn't, the supply and demand wasn't always there. But it's like it just takes a few minutes to assess ourselves. But again thought I was doing so great, but now I can see, well, there's a little bit more fine tuning, and I also get to see how important it is when this body needs food. It needs fuel. This body needs water in order for it to function and keep doing these things that I want to do. So it's like there's like a give and take, even with our own physical bodies, that if we're not taking the time to listen to it, we find ourselves in these depressive moments, or these places that we feel like we can't get out of. And it's some of the things are as simple as eating foods. Or what foods are you eating? Are you eating a lot of processed stuff? Are you eating a lot of stuff with dyes in it? Because a lot of that stuff can have an emotional reaction to your body. Your body's reacting to those chemicals that you're putting into it. So it's just being aware, because we can make our lives so much better, or we can stay in the struggle and go eat that crap. I mean, it's okay. It's all right. There's nothing wrong with it. I did it for many years, but it's unnecessary. When you start, it's just like when you go through a spiritual stuff, when you start sensing and feeling a lot of these things, when you're feeling great, it's great. You're in that high space all the time, right? You're just great. And any little thing can, kind of knock it off a bit. It could, especially in the early times, that it can take you off your course, and you're thinking, "I was doing so great," and then that person, and then you recognize that you're blaming somebody else for something, and it had nothing to do with anybody else, but letting you know where you were at that moment. Maybe you needed food or water, or it's just like taking those times, even for that stuff. If you're paying attention to your thoughts, pay attention to how you're treating the body. Like, are you honoring it? Are you nourishing it with what it needs, whether it's a bath or oils or lotions or foods or just rest. Sometimes rest is all we need.
Yeah, for sure. It's 11:11.
Yay!
I always do that. I've done that for like 3 or 4 weeks in a row. I'm like, just look. I'm not. You can see I'm looking at my lap. Whether I'm looking at you because of where my camera, I don't know. I'm just looking at you in the picture, and then it's like look at the clock, and it's 11:11. So I think that's fun. And
I've been getting those a lot, and those 444s,
thank you for sharing your wisdom with us about the body and paying attention to it, and it's important for people to hear that stuff. So with that, this is Tea Time with Amy and Bev. I don't know, I love coming here every week or having these conversations as much as possible, and sharing the information with other people. So my expression of gratitude towards you, Bev, for showing up as well, and we're doing this almost 4 years, and it's been an amazing journey just for us. So I think that's fun and exciting, and it took us to say yes to doing it. So so when you're thinking about doing something, you're feeling called to do it, just say yes, just do it and just see where it goes, because it could be an incredible ride. So thank you for being here. Tea Time with Amy and Bev. Remember to share us with your friends and family, to check us out, to share the content, to have conversations around this stuff, because other people are desiring to hear it as well. So you step into that and have the courage to talk about it. So any other words?
Have a wonderful week.
All right, my friends, take care. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.